Hello, my name is Eduardo. Today I am here with another tutorial for App Inventor. Well, I'm going to show you this, okay? But basically, I was working on a tutorial about swipe, okay? How to make swipe or flunk in the canvas. But then I started just like trying some things, okay? And I just ended up with this kind of mini game, okay? So I was thinking, well, why not to show you how to make this little simple Pong game, okay? Well, this is the idea, so I will show you. If you check, we have here this kind of Padlet, or I don't know how to call it, and then we have this ball, okay? And then we have these other Padlets. Everything was done in Inkscape, okay? So when we touch, we are going to start like moving the ball. We drag, okay, and we're just affecting the X and Y. I added some sounds to make it more interesting. Every time we touch the edge, the upper edge, we're going to increase our score, okay? And it's reset because it is just one life, so that's the idea. The ball increases its speed every time it hits something like the edges, okay? So I will show you how to make that. I guess it's pretty interesting. I tried to make something to make it more like variable. For example, when you touch the right of the Padlet, okay, or you touch the left, okay. Not perfect, not very like wow, super accurate, but I guess it's pretty interesting, okay? So I hope you are really interested in this tutorial and really excited, just like me, okay? So let's start with the tutorial. The first thing that we are going to do, okay, it is just to check, we need some graphics, okay? Graphics are pretty simple. As usual, okay, I did these graphics in Inkscape. If you check, I was just checking the colors and these things, so I just made this little rectangle, another rectangle under this thing, okay, and that's it. If you want me to share these things, these images, please just let me know, okay? Please help me with a like, okay? Maybe that would be a really good way, okay? If we get like, I don't know, 10 likes for this video, I'm not very ambitious, okay? So I will upload the source file, not the source file, just the images for this game to work. Well, anyway, so let's start with this, okay? So let's create a new screen, okay, just to work with everything, okay? I'm just going to show you something before we go to the new screen. We have a canvas, okay? The canvas is 400 times 300 pixels, okay? So 400 height, 300 pixels, and it's inserted inside an horizontal arrangement that it's just set to fill parent, okay? So you can set the same size also. For example, in this moment, I'm going to do that. So if the width it is 300, so I'm going to make it this line 350, and I'm going to change the color of the horizontal arrangement to something like white to make it more visible for us. If you check, now it is the width, we could see like in space or something, okay? Yes, this little border. And now for the height, if the canvas is 400, what if we set it to 425 or 420? I guess that's okay. So we just wait for companion to refresh everything. And we have like a border. Yeah, we have a border over there. Okay, so we can change the color if we want, maybe to something like dark gray. And then I have other horizontal arrangement. The screen is white, black, I mean, Okay, so then we have this label, and I guess we can make this thing. Okay, so we have the canvas, we have these Padlets. The ball is 8 radius, the Padlet it's like 64. So let's go to the screen, to the other screen, and let's try to make this thing again. So well, we have to upload our images to App Inventor. Of course, I have these ones in this because this is the second screen. Okay, so we have the Padlet and everything. So first thing, let's add horizontal arrangements. Here in layout, drag an horizontal arrangement, set the width for this one to fill parent, then change color. No, the screen, let's change the color of the screen to I was thinking about dark gray. I like dark gray now. Well, this horizontal arrangement is for the score, so let's call it score horizontal arrangement, and that's it. Then we're going to add a second horizontal arrangement, and we're going to rename it to a canvas horizontal arrangement. We're going to center everything in this. We're going to set its color to gray, and then we're going to change its height to 410 pixels. Now 420, I guess. And for this one, 310 pixels. 400, I guess it's okay. 410 and 310. Now it is center. Everything in the screen is center horizontally talking. And then we have to go to drawing and animation, and we're going to draw our canvas, and we're going to set the height to 400 pixels, and then the width to let's say 310 pixels, I guess. The canvas, it's no, let's set it to 300 to have some space like a border. That's it. Beautiful. Now we're going to change the color of the background, of course. Okay, we can use Inkscape to take some values or some colors. Okay, so I have this one because I like the way it looks. Okay, so you just change, check this thing and look for the fill, and you just check the values 33, 68, 120. Okay, so you can set these values in App Inventor. Well, let's continue. So now we're going to do that, but first let's add our sprites. The first sprite that we're going to add is the Padlet. Okay, so player's Padlet. Let's call it Padlet Sprite SP, just to simplify things. And we're going to use the image, remember the image, and we're going to use Padlet. Remember, if we get 10 likes for this video, I will share these files or these images. Well, anyway, we have this Padlet, and I also have another one, I guess, but I don't know if I export it. Well, we have this Padlet, the pink one. Now we're going to set its the size of this Padlet. Now, in Inkscape, when you design it, if you are planning to design this thing, if you check the values, 32 times 80. Okay, so 32 times 80. So you can use these values. Okay, so for example, here 8 pixels, and here 32 to see the way it looks. Now, if you check, it's pretty small, so we have to multiply this to double this. What about 64? And what about 16? And I guess it looks much better. Okay, so we are going to set it to 64 times 16, and we're going to change the interval to 48. That's it. And now we need to place it. Remember that the canvas, it is like 400 pixels high, so we are going to set the Padlet at 300 pixels. So we go here to the the y property to 300. Oh, sorry for that. We close this thing and it's 300 now. Okay. Now for the x we are going to quite center it. So remember here the canvas is 400, so we need to move it to 200 more or less. 200 minus the width of this thing, minus 32, 200, let's call it to 160. It's almost center. Now let's move it to 200 to see what happened. No, it's going to the right, I guess, sorry. So let's call it to 120. Okay, that's okay. I like it. Now the Z property, it's okay. Over here, speed 0. Heading, we're not going to move any of these values. So we have Padlet. Okay. Now let's add the second sprite. That is the one that it was in the middle. So let's rename this to, let's call it neutral Padlet 1. So neutral Padlet 1, and let's use the picture for Padlet neutral, that it's pad n, and that's the one. And of course the values are quite the same. So in this case it's the same, so we are going to set it to 32. Let's set it to 96. The width and the height to 16 to see how does this thing looks. Looks so big. Okay, so maybe in this case 64 it's okay. Oh yeah, but maybe a little bit thinner, 48. Try to use multiples of 2. Okay, I like that one. I guess that looks quite okay. Now we are going to place it in the center of the canvas. So let's talking about the width, I mean the height, we're going to set it to 200. We check. It's quite close from us. Okay, so now let's set it to 160, and I guess it looks okay. Maybe 170. Yes, and maybe we can move our Padlet a little bit. 320. Yes, we have some more space over there. Okay, well, we have here, place this guy, the neutral Padlet, and then we need, of course, the other Padlet. Okay, so let's add right now the upper Padlet. That is another neutral Padlet 2. Okay, and we're going to use the image for this guy. I guess that's this one. Yeah, and of course the width and these things, let's set it to 96 pixels for width and the height to 32 to see if it's not very big. Okay. Ew, looks awful. Okay, so we're going to move this to 64. So width, and then this to 16. It looks much better, but I guess we are seeing some distortion in this, so we can check this file that is 64 times 8. Okay, so the proportion 64 times 8. So let's set it to 8 and let's see what happens. Yes, it looks much better. Okay, or we can increase this to let's say 128. I guess it's too much. You have to try these things. Okay, so yes, it's too much. 96. I guess it looks a little bit the same. 64. And what happens if we let it to 64 times 16? Looks awful or not? Yeah, it looks terrible. So maybe we're going to set it to 8. Well, not very important right now. We will fix it later. Yes, that's okay. So well, I wanted this thing to be bigger. Sorry for taking too much time in this one. This guy, 128. Yeah, I like it more, a little bit more. Okay, so 128 times 16. So we can go in here and we can do the same for this. 128. Let's group this thing. So 128 times 32. No, times 16. That's it. 128 times 16. And I'm going to export it again. Let's call it here pad 2. And then let's see, replace. Yes, I want to replace this frame just to see if this improves a little bit. We're going to re-upload this one, the pad, just because I changed the size. So I guess it looks a little bit better. Let's refresh the screen. Yeah, looks a little bit better. Okay, so now, well, we have this guy over here, and now we are going to place it. Okay, so the neutral Padlet, we want it to be in the upper part of the canvas, so it has to be a value close the 20 or something like that, or 30. So let's set it to 30. Sorry, I'm a little sick, but it's okay. Now, for the X, we are going to set it to 120. 90. What about 90? Oh yes, that's these are just the initial values. Okay, so we are almost done to start with this thing. Okay, so we have Padlets. We have our Padlet in here, and we need to start like moving things. Okay, so let's go here to the blocks, and of course we're going to start like trying to be organized. We need something to start the game, start game. Okay, so we're going to create a procedures. Okay, so procedure is just a group of or some these are steps, okay, just to follow, okay, or group of commands or blocks, okay, that they are going to be like done in certain order. So to start the game, what is the first thing that we need to do? Well, to start the game, we are missing the most important thing, guys, the ball. And let's set the radius to 8. And what about the color? Just for now, pink. Then we will modify this thing. So now, we're going to start the game. But before we start the game, we need to change the color of the background, as I told you. So let's look for a color for the canvas. So let's say the canvas color. We're going to set these two colors personalized. We're going to add this color, and we're going to set the background to these values: 36, 68, and 120. So let's do it right now just to see the color. It looks okay. Now for the ball, I will change the ball color to, or the paint color, and we're going to duplicate, we're going to duplicate this one. Let's just remove this thing, remove comment, and we're going to add here in the list an extra space. This extra space is going to help us with the transparency. I want my ball to be a little bit transparent. Okay, so we are going to use 128 and 229. Now for this value, you need to select a value that is between the 0 and 255. If you have 255, check. Let's do this. We change the color and it's opaque. Okay, so we need to make it a little transparent. So if we set it to, for example, 5, check. It's super transparent. But what if we set it to 120, 50? So we do it, and it's a little bit transparent. Okay, in that case we are like controlling the transparency a little bit. Okay, so now we can change the color or something. For example, if I want to have something more less transparent, I just increase this value until 255. So I guess that's okay. And maybe the color for this, I want something like pink. What about here? If we go here, I guess that's okay. So I change here in color 255, 170, 204, and for the transparency we have 150. But that says, of course, with the background it will change a little bit color. So now let's do this just to see. It's quite the same. So let's increase this value. I like it. Yes, I like that. Now the size of the ball, maybe a little smaller to make it more difficult. 6? What about 6? Yes, that's okay. Now we have the ball, we have the canvas with the colors, and we are almost ready to go. Okay, so let's start with starting the game. So how to start the game? Let's drag here the procedures. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is to move. Okay, to start moving these guys. For example, these things, but we need to do it when we touch the screen. For example, we want to move, start moving everything. Also for the ball, let's set the position of the ball near the Padlet. So in this case it's 320, so let's set it to 300. Yes, in that position it's quite good. 135 maybe, and that's okay. When we touch the screen we want to start the game. Okay, so but what we want? Okay, first we need to give some speed to these guys. Let's start with neutral Padlet 1. Okay, so we're going to change the speed of this Padlet. The Padlet is going to the heading, the normal heading it's going to the right. Okay, when we start. So let's start the padding to speed of 5. This Padlet it will be like moving here quite fast. Okay, trying to stop the ball or interrupting us. So the initial it can be 5, but let's make it more like a game. So let's use a random value. So you go to math, then random integer, and we can go from 5, okay, from 5 to 9, from 5 to 9 when we touch the screen. Okay, well, that's it. We are going to give speed to this friend, but now something is going to happen. Okay, but let's make it little by little. Yes, what happens if I start with this? It goes over there and just stop there because it is just going in one direction. Okay, the neutral Padlet 1. Let's change the interval to make it more fluid. Okay, or how do you call it? I forgot this. Not fluid. Fluid is like other thing. Smooth. Well, if I do it again, it looks better, but it stops there. We need to bounce. Okay, we're going to use this property that we have here, that it's bounce edge. Okay, so when we click here in neutral Padlet and we go to edge reach, what happens when we get an edge? Well, sorry, it is trying to do that. So let's organize this. Okay, so the Padlet's in here, so we have this screen initialize. Let's use this, the value of the edge, any edge. We want it to bounce, okay, and it will bounce automatically using the same heading. Okay, it's just inverting the heading. Okay, so basically that is the idea with this Padlet. For the other one, there is another thing to make it more interesting. So we have a constant speed. Maybe the random speed, it was like 4, or I mean 6, and it continues 6, 6, 6. We want that when we have a contact with the edge, or the edge is reached, we want to change this again to have some variety. Check different speeds to make it less predictable. Looks okay. So now for the other guy, we are going to do the same for this Padlet. So let's close this ad, let's duplicate this, and let's call it Padlet number 2, and this is a slower Padlet. We're going to set its speed to a value among 2 and probably 4.5. I'm not sure if it is respecting points or something, but well. So now we're going to do it, and it goes over there, and we are going to change its interval to make it the movement a little bit smoother. So let's set it to 10 again. We refresh. Right now I am just activating these procedures using here do it, okay, but we are going to activate this with when we touch the canvas. So let's do this, and it stops. So we need to duplicate this also, this procedure for Padlet, and we change to Padlet 2, and then Padlet 2, Padlet 2. So we have over there our friends moving, and maybe we're going to use 1 here to make it sometimes slower. But this is using this speed from 1 to 4.5. Maybe. It's so slow. Yeah, so slow. Maybe for the initial value, yes, that's okay. So, and then we have this kind of randomness. Okay, so we have our friends moving. These are not like enemies, but they are lost, just like interrupting us. Okay, so far so good. Okay guys, now what else is necessary? Well, to activate this kind of thing, okay, the start game. These are the 2 first things that we need. Now, there is another thing. What if we have the Padlet. We are going to move the Padlet, but we are going to move the Padlet when we drag over the Padlet. Okay, so to do that, we are going to click on Padlet. We haven't finished with the start game procedure. Okay, we are going to add some other things. So when we drag the Padlet sprite, okay, we're going to use here in Padlet, we're going to look for the block that it says move to. Okay, so it's going to move the Padlet Okay, so now what we are going to do now is we're going to use this. We're going to use math, and we're going to use we are going to decrease. We're going to use the current value when we touch minus the size of the Padlet, the width of the Padlet divided by 2. Okay, so check. Well, if we have just current x, okay, so let's set just this, just for example, for the y, before I explain you what happens, let's set it to what is the value that we have for the y. For the Padlet, it is no Padlet 320. So let's set it to 320. We don't want to affect this property, so to be just constant with the dragging. So check what happens. Check what is the mouse. Okay, so that means where I touch. This is the position. Okay, so if I move it over here, it's going to the right. So we wanted to center this sprite in our finger, for example. So that's why we're going to use this. We're going to the current x position, and then we're going to use the value of the width divided by 2. That means that it will move a little bit the origin. So now if we check in here, check, now it is in the center. Okay, so if we place the finger, it's in the center of our finger, more accurate. So that's it. We are moving now our Padlet. So now what else it is necessary? So if we're not like playing the game, okay, so maybe this thing is not enabled. So at the beginning the Padlet, okay, it is not like enabled, so we're going to disable this Padlet. That means that with the start game we are going to enable this to make it able to be dragged. So because if right now I want to drag, it is not possible, so we're going to change this to true. Okay, so we have some other things there. Now what is necessary now? We need to give the ball a random speed. Okay, so let's start little by little. Let's go here to random speed for the ball, and we're going to set it, for example, to 5. So what happens if I do that? Well, it will go to the right, I mean, because the heading is going to 0. 0 is to the right. It's like having these angles, remember? Okay, just to show you. We need to consider these values. Okay, so right now the ball is going to the right because it's going to 0, but we want the ball going, so one of these positions. What about from, let's use this one, from 50 to 130. Okay, so we are going to change the heading before we move. So as I told you here, from 50 to 130. So a random value from 50 and 130. From 50 and 130. Okay, so we are going to refresh the screen. Let's wait a little bit. And we have the speed. Now let's check. It has to go some of these places. Let's do it. Let's change the heading first, and then let's give a speed. That's it. Okay, now the speed also, we need to change the speed to something more random. Okay, I don't want the ball at the beginning to be so fast. You will see why. So around 1 and 3 probably, that would be okay. Well, but the ball is not like bouncing. Okay, so now we need to do something with the ball when we have when we get an edge. Okay, so now edge reach Padlet, we're going to set this Padlet movement over here. And for the ball, we're going to go for ball. What happens when the ball gets an edge? Well, we're interested here. If you check here the description, it says something about the edges. The edges are represented by values. One is the north, okay, and then we go to the right, okay, increasing the values to the east is 3, the southeast is 4, and then in south starting in -1, southwest -2, etc., etc., until you get to northwest to -4. So we're interested in bouncing the ball when we collide with 1, 2, 3, and 4, but note -1 and -2. Yeah, we're not interested in -2 also. Okay, so and this one. So, but when you collide in -2, that's that you are colliding in -1, -2. Okay, so we are not interested in this one, just with this, and with this. Okay, so how can we do that? Well, we are going to use a condition. I love conditions. You can check my videos about conditions. So let's do it, okay, really fast because I am taking too much. So we're going to add this condition. And we're going to say, hey, you know what? If the edge, remember these values that we get, if the edge, it's different from -1, that means that it's other edge. Okay? It's different from that. Okay? What is the thing that we want? Well, we want to bounce this beautiful ball. So we're going to check bounce. And we are going to make this thing. We want to bounce. Yes, I know that you need something. Give me a second. And it's going to be bouncing. But if we get to this part, it will stop because it's 1. So no more bouncing. Of course, we need to kill the speed. Okay, so but we are going to do that. Okay, so just little by little. In this case, we have this thing that it's bouncing, and now it bounced because it collides with this edge. Okay, so maybe if this is different, if the edge is different from this value, okay, or maybe what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, and -2. But well, let's just keep it like that, just for now. Okay, so now what is the thing that we need now? Well, the thing that we need now, it is to check how to activate the start procedure. Okay, so we are going to have this, but also there is another thing that I forgot. What happens if we collide with this? Where we are going to create a procedure called game over. We have the start game that it's almost done, and we need the game over stuff. So what happens when we have the game over? So we want to stop the ball. Okay, so we want to stop the ball. Basically, it's quite similar to the start game. Okay, but like in the opposite, we don't want to have speed for these padlets. So we're going to set this to 0. And of course we're going to do the same for the Padlet number 2, the neutral Padlet number 2. And for our friend, our Padlet, okay, the sprite that we're using, we want to be this thing disabled. Now we stop them. Now we need to place them again. Okay, so we can center them, okay, so, or we just can let them in the place that where they are. Okay, so for example, you can say, you know what, Padlet, your X position will be in your X position, now will be in the same value as you start. Okay, in this case it's 120, so you can set it to 120. Okay, or you can do this check. I'm going to show you another way to do that. For example, let's say that the Padlet number 1, I want to center the Padlet number 1. Well, if you want to center the Padlet number 1, you are going to use just math. You are going to use divided by. We are going to use the size of the canvas, the width of the canvas, divided by 2, and minus, oh, sorry. So this canvas width divided by 2 minus the this Padlet, the Padlet width divided by 2 also. I guess it's that. Okay, so let's see, let's do it. And in this moment nothing is happening because it is just like center, that thing. Okay, so now we duplicate this one and we do the same for neutral Padlet number 2. We just change Padlet 2 and we do it. Okay, now it's center, perfectly center. We can do the same for our Padlet to be more accurate. If you check, if I duplicate this one, I insert it instead of the 120, and then I just change to our Padlet. We do it, and that's it. Okay, it is like center now. This is for the game over because it's going to stop now. The guy that needs to stop now, it is the ball. Ball needs to be stopped. Also, ball needs to be 0, and that's it. So we are going to stop the ball, and now we're going to place the ball in another position, the same original position that it was 300. So 300, and we can use something like the other ones. Okay, so ball X, it's 300 now. Let's duplicate this one. Let's just change this to Y to 300, and maybe also center. In this case we are going to use something similar. We are going to duplicate this, and in this case we don't need this to divide this because we have the radius of the ball. The radius is just like the half of the ball, so we are going to use radius minus radius, and if we do this thing, oh, but it's not for Y, it is for X. So let's do it. Well, in this case it's moving. Let's stop it and do it. That's it. And now the position 300, and that's it. We stop this ball, and that's it. Okay, so this is the game over stuff. Okay, so we are going to do that. Now we are going to start with the interesting part, I know. Okay, so with the collisions. But first, let's start with how to start the game. Well, to start the game, we are going to create a variable. Okay, just to detect. Right now, when we start the game, okay, so let's refresh the screen. What happens when the player enters to the app? So you just use this. Nothing is moving because we need to start the game. So now we need to tell the game, you know, the game is now, it's off. Okay, so you can set this to power or something for you to remember. Power game. Okay, so if the game is on or it's off, you can say that true or false or anything. I'm going to use, so the game now it's in false because it's not working, okay, right now. So now when we touch the canvas, I want to change this variable, okay, or I want to detect if we have that thing. So just let me move the game over here. We have my variable over here, and let's go back just to check how to use that. So if the game is off, we can turn it on. Okay, so basically that is the stuff. If equals, because we have true or false, remember, for power. If the game it is in false, that means that we can be able to start the game. Okay, so that's basically the stuff. Okay, so if this thing isn't false, we are going to start the game. Okay, so now let's start like using start game. So let's see what happens if we touch. Okay, so if this thing now also we need to we don't want to start again, so we need to change this to true, because now the game is on. Okay, so basically that is the basic stuff. So let's see what happens when I touch in here. Everything is moving, okay, and this guy it's able to be dragged, but not very interesting right now. But everything is moving with this procedure. Now we need to stop the game when we get to the to this edge. What happens if you collide with something that is different to -1? Well, we bounce. Else, that means if you collide with number 1, I want you to call game over. So let's see, let's move this guy and let's see if this thing is working. That's it. We have to start and the game over stuff. Now let's make it more interesting. Well, to make it more interesting, we need to check now collisions. So for collisions, we are going to create some procedures. Okay, so let's start with the first, or the basic procedure for moving things, okay, or colliding. So let's create this and let's call it paddle contact, and let's call it paddle contact 1. So that means that's the basic stuff. If you check, the idea about this is to collide with this thing, okay, but if you collide with the Padlet, we want to be able to make it different if we collide from this side, okay, so maybe not very accurate, but I will show you a way to do that. Okay, so we're going to create an if condition, okay, and I hope you understand this thing, because for me it was just like trying to make this thing. So now we're going to check if, when we have the collision, okay, if this, we're going to use here, if the value it is less or equals to of the ball, when the ball gets this collision, when we have collision, okay, so ball X, if we have collision and the value of the ball, okay, it is less or equals that the Padlet, let's use Padlet X, the position of the Padlet, okay, and then we're going to use pause check. It's going to be a little bit like confusing maybe, okay, but just try to check the blocks and try to understand them, okay. And now we're going to use Padlet width. We're going to duplicate this one, Padlet width divided by 2, something that like we did to position everything in the center. So that's the idea. So here, and then we're going to use another one, minus the radius of the ball times 2, that is the diameter, or diameter, I use diameter, right? So we go for radius times 2. In that case, it's going to detect if the ball is colliding with this part of the Padlet or this side of the Padlet. Okay, just to have some variety for these collisions. So radius times 2. So when this happens, in this case I am asking, hey, if you are in the ball, when collides the ball, if we are touching this side of the Padlet, well, I want to do something, okay? I want to invert the heading of the ball, but in a random way. So to do that, we're going to go here to ball heading, and we're going to change its heading, just to mirror this thing, okay, to a random position. So we're going to do that, and we're going to use pause, and we're going to use its own heading, because we want to flip it. Remember, this is like angles, okay? So if we are in 0, we want to go to the other side, well, it's like going to 180, right? So something like that. So, well, we are going to use a random integer, another random number, okay, that is between 210 and 180, okay? So that's the idea. The opposite, it will be like just 180, but just to give some kind of randomness, we are going to use from 180 to 210. That's it. Okay. We are going to create another variable just to control the speed of the ball. We're going to create this variable, and we're going to call it speed. Let's call it my speed, and let's set it at the beginning to 0. We're going to use this variable just to increase this value. Okay, now in this case, when I touch the Padlet, this side of the Padlet or any side of the Padlet, yes, I want to increase the speed of the Padlet, but in this case I want to reduce it, okay, just to make a little, to give, as I told you, some kind of variety. You can increase it too, okay, so you have the speed of 1 and then you touch the Padlet maybe to have 2 now, or 3, or plus 1, but I guess in this case it works for me better if I just, sorry, let's use this one, it's the same, but let's, this value of the speed, we are going to decrease this value by minus 0.05. Minus 0.05. Minus 0.05. 0.5. Sorry about that. Yes, but not 0.5. So let's make it like 0.07, okay, minus 7 to reduce the speed when we collide with this Padlet. Now this value, now we're going to pass it to the speed of the ball, and we're going to set it to this guy. Okay, now if you check, we are going to change now this. Okay, so we're going to change this because we have created the variable. Now we are going to modify. It is better to have this because allows you to be more organized, okay, with your values from this. Instead of just having the ball speed, okay, we have this global variable that it's speed that you can call it anywhere. So we're going to set this to, this is the game over, sorry, so it's 0. And of course we are going to change this. I know it looks like the same, but believe me, it is better like that. Now for this guy, we are going to do the same. Duplicate. So the ball speed right now, in this case, it will take this value and now we are going to duplicate this, and it will take, it is the same thing. It's the same thing, okay, but it's to have more organized things, okay. So well, now the speed, it will be like affected in this case when we have contact, okay, with the size of the Padlet. But what happens if we have contact with this size? Well, we are going to just insert a very simple else, okay, that means that if the value is bigger than, okay, so that is on the side of the Padlet. So we're going to just duplicate this, and this, and this. We're going to duplicate these guys, but we're going to change the values. The values now, they go from 140 to 170 to make it a little bit more variable. So now probably you might be like asking now, is this thing working or not? Well, not pretty sure, guys. So now, check. If I click in here, I cannot touch again. I cannot restart the game. Why? Why is that? Well, because when we call the game over, check game over, it's when we have here global power game, okay, and then we have game over. We are able to do that. Let's check this variable, the global power game. Right now it is set to true. Okay, we cannot change this, okay, because we need to set the game. We just can start the game when the variable is in false. So that means that when the ball gets to this edge, we need to change, when we call game over, we need to change this to false. So now let's refresh everything. So the thing that I did just now, it was this, to add the global power game, okay. So when we have the game over, you know, power of the game, basically. Now when we touch in here, we have movements, and we have the ball moving, and it's moving very fast, okay. Right now it's going so slow because it's using global my speed. Oh, sorry. What is the start? Start the game. Global my speed. So we can make these things faster from 3 to 5. Let's just give some speed to this. And then this. Well, the idea is that we want to have collision, and we want to see if we have a collision with this Padlet that we just had. We don't have anything. Why? Because we haven't inserted the procedure. Okay, this procedure, the Padlet contact, it has to be inserted in when the ball has collision, okay, when the ball collides with something. So we are going to drag here, ball collides with, when the ball has a collision. First, this is other, we're going to check with who is colliding. If we're going to use logic equals, if the collision is with Padlet, we go to the bottom and we go for Padlet speed. If other, okay, so that means the collision is with Padlet. So we want to call this procedure that we just create, that is Padlet contact 1. Okay, so now let's just start, and then we start the game, because remember that we powered off what we have. So now it's not having collisions right now because it is just checking if we have collision only with this guy. And the other, it will be really simple, guys, believe me. So let's see if we have collision from this side. Yes, we have collision. Okay, now what's necessary now? Well, we need to make it more interesting, this thing. Check, we have collision. Now let me check if we collide from here. and it looks a little bit more good, interesting, I mean. So now what we need is to check what happens when the ball gets to the edge. Well, we need to modify some value, right? Because it is quite boring, the speed is constant and not very entertaining right now. So to do that, we're going to go here next to when the ball collides. We're going to, with the ball gets when it has a collision with an edge. So we have this one also, sorry, that it's here. So let's drag this guy from the ball when the edge is reached. Okay, so now what we want right now, it is to change the speed. Okay, so we want to modify the speed every time we collide with any of these edges. So well, let's do that. First, let's check if the speed, okay, if the speed of this friend it is not like bigger. Here we are going to insert this. We are going to check if the speed, so we can use in this case we don't want to have a very fast ball, so maybe 22 it's okay. Oh sorry, but on the other side. So we need to check if the speed of the ball is less than 22. Well, we want to change this speed. Okay, so we want to change this speed or increase this speed. Increase, that's the magic word. Okay, we want to increase the speed, and we're going to increase by different values. But I don't want to be just this kind of values from a random from 1 to 4. I want to use my own values, and to do that we're going to create a variable that it's going to call it increase speed list. So we're going to create here just a bunch of values to increase the speed. So in that case I can have more control with that thing. So let's say that I want to have here like 4 or 5 items with different values. So for example, I want to have one that is to increase the value by 1.3, another one, Control C, Control C, Control C, that is just by 0.9, 0.5, 1.2, and 1.4. So I want to take a value from here. Okay, so but random value, pick a random item from this thing, and we're going to refresh everything because remember we created a variable. So I refresh the screen, and every time we have collision, if the speed is not very fast, that means it is not 22, it is less than this value, I want to increase this the speed of the ball just by any of these things, by 1.3, 1.3, 1.3. Okay, so basically that is the thing. Now also there is another thing that I want to do. We are going to change this. We want to check if the sounds, where we're going to use this, here we need to check the speed of to pass the value of the speed to the ball. So we duplicate this one, and now let's see what happens. So the ball starts like really slow right now, but when we collide with the edge, it will increase its speed little by little every time it collides with this thing of this. And with me, no, with me it's just going to reduce a little bit. And if you check, little by little it starts like moving faster and faster and faster. Okay, so I guess looks quite good. Now, what about the other guys? What about the other guys? We want to have collision with the other guys. Well, to have collision with the other friends, it's pretty simple. We are just going to duplicate things. So in that case, we are going to duplicate this Padlet contact, and let's call it Padlet contact 2. And this is for the second Padlet, the neutral Padlet 1. Okay, so we're going to change this to the Padlet SP. Now it will be Padlet, Padlet, and that's it. It's the only changes that you need to do to have this condition with this guy. Now we need to add this to here. We need to add the condition now, else if. We are going to duplicate this. If the collision is with neutral Padlet 1, we are going to call the procedure, oh, well, don't worry, we're going to refresh right now, but to contact 2. And if we have, let's start doing the other one. Let's duplicate this one and let's call it Padlet contact 3. And this is for the upper Padlet. We change this to Padlet 2, Padlet 2. That's it. The only changes that we need to make. So now we add here in bulk lights with another else if, and we are going to use duplicate this. We change to the current Padlet, and then this duplicate, and that's it. So now let's refresh companion, and let's see if this is working. Reset the connection, our companion, and let's see, guys, we are almost like finishing this thing. Remember, if you want the file, I mean the images that we use in this tutorial, please give me a like, or a like to this video. Okay, like this video. If we get to 10 likes, okay, I will share this with you. So now let's just wait a little bit. Okay, so now we have collide with. So let's see what happens if we have collision with these friends. Yes, it's going over here. And check, if I drag and I move my finger down, I can still like moving my, check, it's going over there. And it has collision with all of them, and based on which side of the Padlets are touching. Of course, they are not like having too much speed. They are not giving speed to this friend, and you can change it. For example, when you touch this Padlet, the Padlet 2, that is the one that is in the middle, okay, maybe instead of just reducing this, you want to have an increase of the speed by 0.9, but this is a positive number now. Yeah, so now check. If we have collision, we will increase the speed by almost 1, and it's faster. And maybe if we collide with the other guy, maybe this is another positive value. Maybe this is just by 0.5, and we are giving some speed to this thing. And now if you check, and now we are just going to do something with the ball. We are going to give some we're going to change the interval to 10 to make it fluid. Fluid, no, to make it smooth. So now if we check, pay attention to this wonderful thing. It looks pretty good, guys. I have to say that. I'm really happy with this thing. It is almost done. Okay, it is almost done. We are going to add the sounds. Okay, so let's just add in the sounds. I guess that's the thing that I am just missing. I'm not sure if I need to do something else. Let me remember. I guess that's okay. So we have variable speeds, we have Padlet drag. I guess that's okay, guys. We are almost done with this thing. It was pretty simple, right? Not very complicated. We have the edge reach. When we get to the edge from these Padlets, we have random speeds. Everything is very random, okay, but I guess very functional. So now let's work with the sounds. So now for the sounds, you can go and get some 8-bit sounds to make it more like that, more retro or whatever. Okay, so I got some sounds. Also, I will share these files with you, okay, or you can get some from the internet. Okay, I will use these ones. I will add here in media. Then we go for sound number 1, and let's use sound number 2. Let's set them to 100 and to 100. Sound number 1, it will be just like Pong, 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 Pong. Let's use this one that it's called move. And for sound number 2, we will use power up. Okay, we're missing the score, guys. So I hope you have some time. Okay, so let me center everything in here. Center, and the color of this see, it's gray, that's okay. Maybe the text, the label, let's rename it to score label. That's it, score label is over there. Now we are going to change this to volt and then to 32. Let's use 40. Then we are going to center the text. We are going to change it to light gray to see if it looks okay. Now let's change this to color to light gray. Well, let's wait if this is going to refresh or not. Maybe now it's like freezed. But well, let's work with the sounds. So what happened now? Just wait, it's a little bit slow. Well, for the sounds, when we have these kind of collisions with the ball, it's colliding with the edges. Well, yes, we want to play a sound. Okay, so let's play a sound when we have, first we stop any possible sound and then we just play the sound. Okay, so now let's do it like that. So let's insert this over here and let's see what happens. Oh, well, it's crazy right now. Well, that's okay. It looks okay. Now, when we have this kind of a collision, okay? So now, what happens if I want to change this? When I collide with this purple guy, I want to have a different sound. That's why I use two sounds. So, what is purple guy? We are going to go with the collides procedures. Okay, when we have paddle contact, I want to play this thing. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use play and probably, but this is not the one, right? Well, we are going to call this to 1, to 1, and also when we have, this is with the one in the middle, and this is my paddle, and with my paddle I'm going to play just the normal sound, and stop it, and let's see. Well, that no, because I have enough. No, we don't have. Yes, right now it's working. quite working. Well, we're going to fix that because maybe it is in here. So let's just delete this from here and let's insert them in here. Sound play. Oh, sorry. Sound play in here and in here. Sound play number 1. In any case, just stop and stop. So let's see if it works better or not. Well, you can fix it. Well, it looks better. Now this is done in here, but what when I say to this friend, when I touch this other, I want to play the other sounds. Duplicate. We're going to change this to sound number 2. So let's see if we can touch. Yes, we have 2. And now let's go with the score. Check that the speed of the ball, it cannot get bigger than 22. Okay, so that's why. So now also we can change the value of the ball to make it more smooth, but I guess it's too much, so you can set it to 5 just when it gets really fast. Okay, well, now as I told you, what about the score? Well, the score, first, as usual, we need to create a variable. So let's duplicate this one and let's call it my score. And my score is equals to 0 at the beginning, okay? And we're going to increase this value just when we touch this one, this edge, okay? So in that case, we're going to go with ball edge reach here, okay? Ball edge reach, and we are going to increase this value, okay? So, well, we are going to increase this value inserting just a very simple condition, okay? Down this one, if, okay, if. So we are going to change if the edge that we touch, it's equals to, if the edge equals to 1, we are going to increase our value, our score. If the edge equals to 1, so my score, set global my score was 1, my score plus 1. That's it. Okay, so if this is happening like that, so I want you to increase my score. Okay. Well, now what else is necessary to do? Just let me check. We can move the sounds just in here to have some priority. So, well, just move. We're going to increase the value, and now we need to refresh the label, the score label, the text of the score label. We need to refresh it with the text from here. Now, what else? Well, also I am checking this text for label. It looks horrible. We can set it to 0, and then when we start the game, this variable is like 0. Okay, when we have game over, what happens now? Well, when we have game over, we want to empty the variable, just the variable, not the score label. So we are going to go to the variable of the score. We want to set it to my score to 0. And when we start the game, okay, when we start, because we want to see the final score when you die. And when we start the game now, yes, we want to see the label, score label, to be updated or refreshed with the duplicate this one and change it to my score when we start the game. Okay, so basically that is the idea. Now there is something extra. What happens if we have game over? I want to play another sound. We can add to make it less complicated. Let's add another media. Let's add this sound again. Another sound, and let's set it to 100. And let's set the source to explosion. We have an explosion over there. And that's it. Okay, I have explosion, and we're going to use this when we have game over. Game over, remember that it was like called when we get to a different edge. So here we are going to call this play. I guess it's not going to be playing, so we are going to play this one here when we have the game over stuff. Now when we touch this one, the one, also I want to change that, you know. I would like to have something different. So so I guess we can use another sound to make it more like interesting, this part. So if we collide with the edge, the upper edge, maybe we can have another sound. Okay, so we can add another sound. I am adding sounds because, but you can add just like variables, I mean conditions, just to use the same. But to keep it simple, we're going to use that. I'm going to use this other sound that is Pong up sound, and we're going to activate this sound only if we have this thing. Now we will want to play. Let's duplicate this one, and when we have collision with edge number 1, we want to play the sound number 4. Duplicate, and we're going to use duplicate. Also, when we have this collision with the other one, when it's collision with number 1, we want to stop the sound number 1. Maybe. That is the bomb. The explosion. One sound. I want my points. Points. Oh. Well. So I guess it's pretty interesting, the game. Oh yes, we have 1 point. And if you check the sound, it was quite different. Yeah. And check, the score is in here just to see the last score, okay? And when we press in here, it will be like reset. And that's it. Maybe we can just add some graphics and we have this kind of game that the point is just to touch this part. So I guess that's the idea. Okay, you can add some bars or something here to make it different. Okay, some sprites over there just to make like the contact. So but I guess that's too much. Okay, so my name is Eduardo. I hope you really liked this tutorial. It was very interesting. Okay, and as I told you, I was planning to make another tutorial about swipe and these things, but I just got like this thing caught my eye, okay, this kind of game, and it's really interesting, fun, and maybe not super complicated, but maybe if you increase the score, like you get to 10, you can add more enemies in here and to appear another sprites in here, or maybe you want to destroy this guy, okay, so when you get to 10, you destroy this guy, disappear, and then reappear as another sprite with other color, okay, something like that, okay. So basically that is the idea. I hope you really enjoyed the tutorial. My name is Eduardo. Please guys, okay, if you want to have the sounds and the images that I use in this for this game, okay, and also the Inkscape file, okay, just please don't forget to give me a like, okay. If we get to 10, I will share this with you. My name is Eduardo. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching this.